The Bengals are poised to hire a new defensive coordinator this week, the latest on their search, the process. And are you really that bummed about Scott Peters? I've seen some of your comments. I'll discuss the new Bengals offensive line coach as well right now on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to CBT. I'm James Rapien of BengalsTalk.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, join the 52,000 plus Bengals fans that have subscribed to this channel. Also, make sure that you check out Cincinnati Bengals Talk on audio, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Amazon, and that includes our latest episode of Enter the Jungle. We went live on Monday. It was an earlier episode, but we went live on Monday because of the Scott Peters hiring and everything that went into hiring the new Bengals offensive line coach. What went into hiring his assistant, Michael McCarthy, not that Mike McCarthy, Michael McCarthy, the offensive line coach, and now the Bengals assistant offensive line coach behind Scott Peters. And I'm going to get into Scott Peters, and I'm going to discuss that in this video as well. By the way, today's video brought to you by BetUS. But before I do that, let's talk about Al Golden, because it's golden. And that's who it's going to be. Al Golden is going to get to Cincinnati at some point in the next, I would say, 24 hours. He's got to shore up some things. And what do you got to shore up? Well, a wonderful season for Notre Dame, a season for the Fighting Irish that included a huge college playoff win over Georgia, that included a national championship appearance. And yeah, they came up short on Monday night. But did you notice toward the end of that game, the defense did make plays? They forced a fumble. They got off the field. And yeah, they forced that 3rd and 11. The blitz didn't get home. And when it doesn't get home against an offense that has Jeremiah Smith on the outside, well, that's a tough position to be in. But I thought Al Golden did try a bunch of different things. And I do think he's going to be the next Bengals defensive coordinator, even if it isn't settled yet. And so that's where I'm going to start here, is because let's take it the history out of it, right? The fact that he was the Bengals linebackers coach in 2020 and 2021. And obviously, Logan Wilson played awesome in 21, and so did Jermaine Pratt. But let's take that out of it. And I'm a big say it out loud guy. And we're going to do this with Scott Peters too, just to warn you. You say it out loud and you say, all right, well, there's this former college head coach that has NFL experience, was a linebackers coach, helped that defense go on a really deep playoff run to a Super Bowl, and just one play short of winning the Super Bowl. And then he got this big time defensive coordinator job and helped that defense finish in the top 6 in the FBS in total defense from 22 to 24. Is a big reason why they appeared in a national championship game, is a big reason why they won multiple college football playoff games to get to the national championship game. That sounds like a heck of a coordinator to me. That sounds like a heck of a candidate to me. And so, yeah, the Bengals have familiarity with Al Golden. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I get it. If they hire Al Golden, I'm not going to say, oh my God, well, you should have hired this guy or that, because fit matters. I think it matters now more than ever. When I see what the Bengals have done to their coaching staff, I think they thought Lou Anarumo was a good coach, Frank Pollock a good coach. Fit matters, and they got to get it right. And could Al Golden be the right fit? Could he be the right guy? Could he be the right coach? Could he be? The answer could be yes. And I would have similar questions about a lot of these guys. And you could say, oh, well, Robert Saleh, well, he might get the head coaching job in Jacksonville. He's suddenly getting a second interview. And I say suddenly because I just thought he would find his way back to San Francisco. And so there's that one. Matt Eberflus, I know, was a popular name among the fan base. Are we sure he's better than Al Golden? I'm not sure of that. Really not. Now, you might be. That's fine. I'm not. I would have questions about that. I would have questions about all of these guys. And that's the point is, yeah, there are questions that come with Al Golden, and we can ask those in the coming days when he does become the Bengals defensive coordinator. But sometimes you just got to say it out loud. Successful linebackers coach, high-end college defensive coordinator, has the NFL experience, has coached at multiple college programs, has been a head coach, all of those things. Like, he's got the experience. Clearly, he resonates with the players. I think it would make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean it's not without flaws. And we will discuss more of that in the coming days for sure. When and if, of course, Al Golden gets the job, and I think it more so is a when. Up next, my thoughts on Scott Peters. Scott Peters. Oh my God. Who is that? I can't believe I read all your comments. I can't believe the Bengals went cheap again. That's what someone said. And a lot of you said. My thoughts on Scott Peters coming up next. Today's video is brought to you by BetUS. Make sure you get in on the action today. You go to betus.com, use code YouTube150, and boom, you're going to get a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. And Championship Sunday is almost here. And it's my favorite. That's my favorite NFL Sunday. You have back-to-back games. There is a Super Bowl appearance on the line. To me, I like Championship Sunday even more than Super Bowl Sunday because you have back-to-back games. Less chance of having a dud. And even one dud, then you can look forward to that second game. Hopefully the first game delivers. The point is whether you think that the Chiefs are going to handle business and get to another Super Bowl or that the Bills are going to go to Arrowhead and win. You can wager on that game. You can wager on both games. You could put them together with different parlays. You can look at prop bets. You can do all of those things and more with BetUS. And all you have to do is go to betus.com, use code YouTube150, and you'll get a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. All right, let's get to Scott Peters, because much like Al Golden, who hasn't been hired, Scott Peters has been hired. And this to me is a very much a say it out loud type of thing. If you noticed on the channel, we didn't go over offensive line coach candidates because I didn't know exactly what they were eyeing. I didn't. And I'll tell you when I do, and I'll tell you when I don't. And I had more of a read on this defensive coordinator search than I did on the offensive line coach search. But when you say it out loud, it makes a ton of sense. And it makes a ton of sense for a Bengals offensive unit that is hoping to get better in the trenches, that is hoping to develop more, is hoping to have a better fit and a better marriage between the run game and the pass game. And why does it make sense? Well, you're talking about an NFL veteran, former NFL player. So he checks that box in his mid 40s. So he's going to give you a younger approach, younger mindset, all of those things. Is still developing as a coach. But when you look around the league, is held in super high regard, has worked with the best names. Jim McNally just heaping praise, heaping praise on Scott Peters. And this was long before he became the Bengals offensive line coach. And it's not just Jim McNally, who, by the way, for those that don't know, is the best offensive line coach in Bengals history and was a consultant with the Bengals up until the 2022 season and through the 2022 season, which maybe bring him back and you can get back to that AFC title game. Just saying. But Scott Peters clearly has an endorsement in Jim McNally. And then you look and it's like, oh, well, who else? Because you can convince one guy, even if he's a great offensive line coach, you can convince him to believe in you. Well, what about Bill Callahan? Because he worked with Bill Callahan as a consultant in Washington, and then Peters goes with him to Cleveland and spends 4 seasons with Callahan there, and then gets a shot last year with a bad New England Patriots club. The offensive line was so bad before the season that people in Boston were saying, do not play our first round pick at all this year. Play Jacoby Brissett. Think about that. Think about how bad your offensive line has to be if that's what people are saying and being dead serious about it. The point is, I think he's got the NFL connections. He's got the NFL pedigree. He's got the people in the NFL that endorse him and think he's going to be one of these star offensive line coaches. And that's Jim McNally's words, not mine. Plus, you look at it, and after he retired, he becomes a world champion in jiu-jitsu. And the way he studies the hand fighting and the leverage. And I was listening to the Bengals Booth podcast with Dan Horde, and he was able to talk with him. And I'm really excited to talk with Scott Peters at some point about this stuff. But he learned leverage and hand placement and all of these things. And I think he's going to be so focused on the technique that maybe he can develop a guy or two more than you have in the past. And that's what you need. You need to be able to develop mid-round guards, mid-round offensive linemen into starters, undrafted guys into long time, maybe a starter, but certainly long-term options off the bench that can contribute and that you can trust. So that's what Scott Peters is tasked with. And he checks a lot of the boxes. Will he be a good coach? I'm not sure. But you check a lot of the boxes. Who am I to say, oh, well, that's a bad hire? or all of this or all of that. No, makes sense. We'll see if it works out there. How about that for a take? Make sure you get to BetUS, support our sponsor, and also check out Cincinnati Bengals Talk, not only here on YouTube where you can hit that subscribe button, but wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, also Amazon as well. For Andrew Fox-Miller, I'm James Rapien. When breaking news hits, we are going to be there for you, Bengals fans. Thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.
You ready for this?
Let's go.
Courtesy Jeff Hobson's article on Bengals.com. I want to bring a level of toughness and the mindset of we're protectors. Protectors do it with more than just the shield. We do it with the sword. What does the offensive line get as a gift from Joe Burrow? There you go.